In 2018, I joined a Chinese multinational, and in that company, they provide a personal blog, an internal personal blog for every employee. It looks a little bit and feels a little bit like the social media in which the reader can comment, can like on the postings. And I, as a blogger, could also respond to them. Shortly after that, I wrote my first blog, and I was ranked 90,000th in that blog, in the whole blog system. Well, just for the information, there were 180,000 employees back then. That means that there were about half of them never write anything on the blog. 2 years later, when I left the company, I was ranked 7,829. I have about 160 articles with about 6,600 views. And how did I achieve that? By the way, the 160 articles, I would say half of them is actually a repost with my comment and certain ideas or opinion put into it. Now, firstly, let's talk about social media. Who among you do not know about social media? I believe every one of us knows about social media. I'd like to give it a bit of terminology, a bit of definitions, as I need to go through that during my speech. I particularly like the Chinese way or the Mandarin ways of calling social media. It literally means self-publishing media, which means that you publish whatever you want. And why do you want to do so? Because you want to showcase something. For example, most of us would showcase our life in Facebook, in Instagram. But you could also showcase your talent, your skill set, and your work in LinkedIn or other form of social media. There comes the next question. Why showcase? Here, I'd like to borrow a phrase from Stephen Fernandez. For those of you who are Toastmaster for a long time, you know Stephen Fernando. He's a very accomplished Toastmaster in Malaysia, having won several humorous speech contests up to a very high level. Yes, that's right. If you do not blow your own trumpet, who is going to do that for you? Now, in order for me to improve on my readership so that I can climb the ranking in the blog system within the company, I need to have a measurements. And luckily, the company blogs has that measurements, just like any other social media out there. It has things such as numbers of views, numbers of likes, and comments. All that are indication for me as to how well my articles or my posting are doing. And with that measurement, I can carry out trial and error. There are three main things that I trial and error. My first blog was in English, and it attracted 2 to 3 viewers only. 1 week later, I translated it into Mandarin and I posted. And voila, there it goes. After all, it's a Chinese multinational. The readership rose up to 50 to 60s. The next one that I tried is to juggle with the headlines. I found that there are 3 types of headlines which are very popular. First one is headlines that is actionable, such as 5 ways for winning proposals. We all are trained, has been molded since our young ages to go with the steps. So anything that is actionable in steps form is something that is popular, is acceptable. The next type of headlines would be a purposeful headlines, such as villagers can now keep their meat in the fridge. It connotes an idea that I'm bringing something meaningful to others. And that would appeal to most readers. The third type of headlines that is also popular and attract audience would be those that connotes light reading, such as eating and dining in Macau or miscellaneous in South America. I think that is because modern people live a very stressful life. They just don't want to think too much about serious messages. They just want to read it, have a good time. Of course, I have also tried about the content, and concluding messages, the use of multimedia, the use of images, videos, hashtags, and one thing very important that is always try to respond to the comments on your post, because that is going to raise the ranking of your article, and with higher ranking, you are going to reach more viewers and readers. Now, with that in mind, after my first blogs, about half a year later, I got a chance to work on a project called the Solar Project in Sarawak. And after that project, I came back and I wrote in the internal blogs. And I share it with the project manager, I share it with the customer managers. They all encourage me to submit it to the internal magazine. So the difference between internal magazine and internal blog is just one little difference. That is, internal magazine is gated by an editor. So I submitted it. The editor corrected my crappy Mandarin and suggested me to use certain headlines, and there it goes. I have about 5,567 views, as well as 37 comments in this particular articles. And I also got a little bit of money, that is a little yen there, about 100 or 200 ringgits, but nonetheless, it's still an encouragement for me. Being encouraged by these articles, I went on for another project and then do the same thing. And this time it's about an epic journey of a container data center in South America, in which I garnered more than 7,000 views and 19 comments. Again, I got a little bit of money. Now, one thing good about social media is you can always reuse and repurpose the material. And with that, you can use it in the company blogs, as I mentioned, in the company's internal magazine. I have actually talked about it in the Toastmaster speech. And finally, the slides in the Toastmaster speech were used in my LinkedIn as well. Now, I want to complete the title of my speech. The one thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. Back to you.
Thank you.